Hey there, welcome to episode 17 of the FFS Talk audio program. It is very late on the evening of the 20th of March, 2024. Today we're going to speak about scam, shams, and flim-flams. Hopefully you are not involved in any of those things on either end of it. Inspired somewhat lately by some scams that may be going on that I've seen other people experiencing, and some stories that I'll get into. Basically, we live in modern times with access to so many ways for people to take advantage of us. There are ways to defend ourselves, but like carrying keys to locks, they do require some sacrifice and effort and some motivation to comprehend and be aware. Do we have these? All too often, not in sufficient quantities. It does take effort to defend yourself, to be aware. Always keep an eye out, and it's only getting worse. Wherever you found this episode, hopefully you are able to reach the description of the episode. There's a link section. I have several links that are relevant. They are mostly Wikipedia links. They are a great place to begin. As with most things technology oriented, kind of have to stay up to date on the latest. So the Wikipedia pages are a great place to find some terminology, which I'll get into in a moment. They are not the final word. Wikipedia is very rarely the final word. So it's convenient. It's a convenient starting point. Your journey to find information should very rarely end at Wikipedia. I'm not trying to be mean. Just it's usually correct. I'll start with my shameless self-promotion, but also a reminder, in case I try to do this every once in a while. If you are not familiar with what FFS means, you need more Irish friends. The general idea behind this particular program is to talk about things that work, things that do not work, and what we can do about them. It's sort of a complaining show, but we bring the flashlight when we curse the darkness. I'm linking, as usual, to my buymeacoffee.com/Dan Hugo page. You are under no obligation to buy me anything, but you can if you want. I have links to the various programs I produce. There will be more things added there shortly. I've finally finished up some stuff for the Innovate for Vegas Foundation, for our name change, and some other things. So I have a little bit more time, and I really need to get the content creator index tools deployed for our city scale projects to make our smart city smarter. So part of that will be self-publishing the very content that I work on. It all fits together. So keep an eye out on the buymeacoffee.com/Dan Hugo profile page. You're under no obligation to actually buy me a coffee, although there are links to coffees that I do consume there, beans. Any proceeds that flow through that page or the Ko-fi, ko-fi.com/Dan Hugo page, the link that follows, it goes towards coffee. It's right there in the name. All of my projects are powered by coffee, certainly not by money. Now on to the rest of the link. 3-Card Monte. I include this because it is a classic. If you've never played or been played by 3-Card Monte, you've at least seen it on television or in movies. You're familiar with the general idea, and you know, especially if you've seen it in a movie or on TV, you know it's a scam. You know the game is played to convince the mark, the person who's about to lose their money, convince them. It's like hustling pool, very similar. You convince them that, oh, I know how to play this game. I totally know and it works really great if you watch someone else. And you'll see this, by the way, in mobile game advertisements. Like, oh, I know where the queen, or I know where the ace, whatever the winning card is. I know where. Oh my God, why did they pick the wrong one? So they demonstrate that it's easy, and you just watch someone not win. Like, oh my God, I can do this. You get in there, you win a couple bucks. You better not take that money. You better walk away a loser. So 3-Card Monte is a confidence game. It's got a whole social engineering aspect to it to appeal to your emotions. You know you can win this game. You don't even think about the fact that you're probably being scammed in some way. Well, unless you then know about it later and you go, I will use my logical reasoning brain, not my emotional passionate brain that just wants to win. I know I can win. I know I can beat the game. That's how social engineering works. The Nigerian Prince game, the 419 scams, advanced money scam in general. All you have to do is send me some money so I can unlock many, many times more money. So with your help and financial support, we can both win. This has been around forever. It will continue to be around forever. Easy money. All you have to do is just pay a little. You'll get a lot. Sort of like the stock market, but no, not as tightly regulated. The current version of something like that, but a longer version, is pig butchering. If you happen to watch John Oliver's Last Week Tonight on HBO or on YouTube when they post it there, or if you've seen other mentions of it, there are substantial amounts of money being taken. This is a scam that's been going on for a while. We'll talk about it later in this episode. But bottom line, it's a longer version of a Nigerian Prince scam. Buy some crypto. Here, let me help you do that. We'll get into that more. Phishing, usually spelled with a PH, phishing. You have variants like spear phishing, whale phishing, etc. Phishing is when you get an email, probably an email. There are variations where you are told to click on something, to open a file, to click on a link. It might be from someone you think you know, or it might seem like a legitimate message. The instructions seem very straightforward, or it could be a pressuring, like, oh, you have to click on this to get a refund. You need to take action to cancel a shipment or a bill that will be an invoice that will be billed to you. So there's a pressure element sometimes, or maybe it's just a picture that a JPEG of some celebrity, compromising, maybe a nude photo or something similar. So when you click on, when you open, download, etc., something will happen. Usually something bad. So phishing attacks. If you were around for the Hillary Clinton presidential campaign of 2016, you may recall her was a campaign manager. Clicked on a link, it was a phishing link, a spear phishing link, I think. And all hell broke loose. So you never know. It can happen to anybody. Catfishing is a variation on a theme. Here you are being contacted, sometimes through a dating website, sometimes through social media. I get these frequently. You'll get an invitation to connect on a social media platform, especially rampant on dating sites, of course, but it could be anywhere. Hey, let's meet up. Let's message. Let's private message. Let's do something. It's an appeal to ego, usually. So it's another social engineering attack. Voice phishing. This can be particularly scary and embarrassing somewhat, but it really does happen. This is a phone call, usually. So especially a traditional blocked phone number, unknown number. Voice phishing can be anything from you owe the IRS money, we're going to come and arrest you, to we have kidnapped a loved one and you have to send us a ransom immediately. Don't hang up. There's all sorts of high pressure tactics. This is another form of social engineering. It plays on a vulnerability under pressure, some uncertainty. So it is an emotional attack. You're not thinking rationally. You're thinking in panic mode usually. I'm in trouble. Someone I care about is in trouble, etc. I know people who have been affected by all of these things. There's a business practice now. You may have been contacted by your bank or broker or something. It's called Know Your Customer. This is the business side of making sure that the person, the customer, that a bank or other financial institution is working with is a real person. They're not a terrorist. They're not laundering money. They're not criminals. Depending on how tricky you are, you may get around that. But the bottom line is, this is one example of a proactive and, in fact, legislated practice that business can put into place to make sure that they know who they're talking to, because money is on the line. Strangely, there is no similar sort of compulsion to have normal people do something similar when they receive or when they interact with. There's no verification step that is somehow enforced. It's a lesson that will be learned later, but you should know your counterpart for any conversations or business dealings or personal dealings. You should know something about your counterpart. So maybe it's KYC, but it's not a customer, it's a counterpart. Could be a customer. Gmail, Google Mail, is flipping the switch on more strict emailer authentication for bulk emailers to cut down on spam and some probably some spam, unwanted emails, scams, unwanted emails that try to take advantage of you. Not funny. So early April 2024, so I have a Forbes article about the impending regulations. Some problems with this arise because this type of filtering can be fairly aggressive if you're a small business and you're trying to email your customers, if you have a mailing list, or if you have an opt-in marketing campaign of some sort. You may get stuck in this and your response rate will drop precipitously. Because my emailing service could be Constant Contact or MailChimp. Services like this probably are taking care of this, but depending on how your particular configuration is updated to comply with these new rules, for better or worse, Google is responsible for something like 86%, I think it is, of online email. I don't know if that's global or domestic US, but either way, if Google decides to throttle your email campaign because you didn't configure your DMARC, DMARC, or DKIM, DKIM, or SPF records and keys and so on, if you don't have your DMARC policies and your DKIM keys and your SPF text, it's a text record, I think, in your DNS. If you don't have all that set up correctly, your emails may not be delivered. And all that flows through one gatekeeper, for better or worse. If you've ever run your own mail server, I will say I used to get 500 plus spam messages per day. I was filtering them with Spam Assassin and I can't remember what there was a tool that would require the sender to resend. So that would knock out a lot of spam. But I would still get 500 plus spam messages per day. It's crazy. So Google has been pretty good about filtering, blocking spam. There is a cost, false positives, but probably has saved many people, including people you know, definitely people I know, from increasing the possibility that they will click on something that they shouldn't. I thought that was a real bill. I thought that was a real invoice. I thought that was a real, document. It said it was from you. Well, I don't have a .ru email address. So more social engineering, using technology somewhat to protect. It's one tool in a big toolbox that could use more tools. I'm linking to a book. It's called Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss, who's a former FBI hostage negotiator. The reason I'm linking to that, it's a good book. Not necessarily for the negotiation, although that will be something. I'll touch on that later. If you are not familiar with and I cannot remember the terminology, I didn't reread the book for today, but there's essentially two responses, a defensive response that there are more, it's more subtle, but for the purposes of his negotiations and interactions when it comes to trying to get a hostage freed, you can appeal to the rational or logical defense mechanisms, or you can appeal to the emotional. And emotional is the result of evolutionary biology. It's how we protect ourselves. It's why we feel nervous in a dark alley or on a dark street. It's, hey, I know this neighborhood. I know everything's fine. But you're emotionally concerned, scared. So when you are under an emotional attack, social engineering that's taking advantage of a panic mode, an ego, a desire for some sort of naughtiness, like, ooh, I can get a discount on that jewelry, or this car is $5 for this whole car. something's got to be wrong there. But your first emotional response is like, ooh, I'm getting a deal. I'm getting something I shouldn't be getting. So it's an interesting book in general. And as we see more realistic artificial intelligence, generative artificial intelligence tools being used by bad actors, you may well hear a familiar voice. You may very well get realistic spam messages or realistic private or direct messages that will engage you like a real person over longer periods of time. So essentially, you will have smart tools that are negotiating with you to get you and your money or your personal safety or personal information, privacy, separated. So it's something to think about. And the last link here is an Impresarios episode. One of my other programs I do each week, Cafe Genius Impresarios, is about the startup entrepreneurial innovation ecosystem in the greater Vegas area. And it's a story about a real person. His name was Russell Wayne DeVinny. He was here in Vegas. He pretended to be an entrepreneur. There was a lot of false details. He ended up committing a violent crime against a minor, young woman, using catfishing attacks to convince her that he was much younger and much more appealing than he really was. And then he took advantage once he kidnapped her. So these can escalate and become very serious. And so that's why we are talking about these things today. On with the show. Sorry to be kind of a bummer there, but it's a true story. So you can listen to episode 16. I've linked to it, and I'll touch on it a little bit. So people suck. That's the bad news. People whom you probably do not know are probably not trying to steal from you. That's statistically, most people are not trying to commit crimes to harm you. But it's not always true, and you will encounter people who are bad actors. And you probably need to assume and be happy when you're wrong that you are interacting, especially if it's a person you cannot see. It's a person you've never met before. It's a person who you do not know anyone that they have no common friends. You're in an unfamiliar area, digital or real. If you don't know who you're talking with, who you're speaking to or hearing from, your emotional reaction should be one of extreme caution, even though your rational response, your logical considerations may be, well, this is a professional circumstance. We're meeting at a trade show or something. Well, you never know. You never know, especially when it's an email or a private message or dating applications, dating platforms where your guard may be lowered. You're hoping to meet someone interesting or whatever. So it's your logical brain may not be in charge. Your ego may be cashing checks, as the saying goes. Sometimes people you think you know are also out to get you. These are long cons. These could be a cultivated interaction that slowly or quickly hopes to compromise your privacy, security, finances, etc. It could be someone you're dating or married to. That's sort of funny, but not really. You never know. You never know until you do. So it's always interesting to, if it's too good to be true or if things don't seem right, your emotional defenses may deceive you. It's a good time to think rationally and to examine the situation. But we're more going to focus on the short con, the quickies, the things I went into. 3-card money is a short con. It doesn't take days, it takes minutes. The Nigerian prince scam, it might be a couple of emails. Catfishing might be an actual meetup in person, usually a disappointment, but those can sometimes turn into something much worse, as I described. Voice phishing is usually as quick as possible. The panic emotional defense is key in some cases, whether it's a kidnap variation or even, the IRS is going to arrest you. Either your panic response, I just want to get this, I don't want to be arrested, etc. The more conveniences there are in life, the more vectors there are pointing into your life. Your phone in your pocket, your bank accounts, your passwords, they're all on that phone. That's one easy starting point for any scam, whether it's a phishing or spear phishing. They're trying to get you to click on something that will compromise your saved logins or other items. Your finances, your privacy and security, your safety, and ultimately all of this is up to you. So you can defend yourself. You have to understand what the possibilities might be in an ever-changing threat landscape. How about some examples? The examples provided in the link section are a tiny subset of the things to be aware of. That means you should not treat this audio program episode as comprehensive by any means. It's a starting point. You should always be vigilant. You should always try to keep up to date. Unlike the DMV, where you read the book 5 minutes before you take the test, and then you're good for the rest of your life, for better or worse, these sorts of things can change minutes. There's a 0-day exploits that can happen. If you receive a text message, it could, decrypt your file system and compromise your session keys. Right? There are all sorts of threat vectors to be aware of, and we'll get into some thoughts on that later. Have you ever been scammed? If you have not, you probably were and didn't know it. It seems highly likely that each of us will encounter some novel approach to scamming at some point, if we haven't already, and we probably will again. We're probably not aware of it, or if we become aware of it, hopefully we will learn from it, and it could cost us something. Hopefully it will cost embarrassment or a small amount of money or a compromised password that you can fix. There are cases you can read about where one email password is divulged because of a tech support person trying to be helpful. So more social engineering, appealing to the emotions. I really need my password to get the email for the thing. And they try to help out. These are horrible stories, but it does happen. It's out of your control. Those are probably the worst as far as digital crimes. Like, I did everything right, but they gave away my password. And then they have your email account, and they start resetting passwords and getting the confirmation emails. And before you know it, your bank account is empty and your credit cards have all been changed. And, who knows? Who knows what's possible? You do. Imagine everything changing in minutes while you're looking at your phone, watching TikTok videos. Here are some of the scenarios I personally have encountered. I have a nice list. I've either encountered them myself, or I've heard directly from people who have encountered these. Usually it's after they've encountered it, so it's not like I went, I'm not going to help you. There is one case like this that I'll touch on. The circumstances are a little unusual, but in general, these are all learning experiences. So let's begin. I actually received a handwritten, it's called 419, the Nigerian prince scam, a handwritten piece of mail sent from Nigeria, allegedly. Received it in a mailbox, opened it, read it. I wish I still had it. That'd be kind of fun. I need your help to get some money out of an account, etc. Totally classic. It's been done a million times and people are still doing it. I did not send any money. I will say for my part, I've experienced these, but I don't believe there's a case where I've listen along and I'll sum it up at the end. A friend of mine, when I lived in Sunnyvale, Silicon Valley, was excited one day. I was at a coffee shop. She said, my friend and I won the lottery. We got this email to confirm. So she had already sent some money to get the whatever. So it's a advance fee scam. So it's you advance some money to get some more money. The Nigerian Prince, 419, they're all very similar. All you have to do is give a little and you'll get a lot back. We promise. So I was there's nothing I can do about it. It's already done. So, at this point, I'm not trying to embarrass her. I just said, okay, hopefully it works out. I once received a private message via Facebook. This is one of the ones that I almost got caught. So I got a private message from someone. Their Facebook account was quote unquote hacked. So once they are able to send private messages to people that are friends, I'm doing the air quotes, the doom quotes. Once you can start sending friends these messages, and the message was, this was a fairly common one at the time. It was a long time ago. Is this video you? Or is this you in this video? Something like that. And you're like, oh, I don't know. This is a message from someone I know. Could be a video of me. Let me see. So you click on it. And in my case, I had two-factor authentication enabled for Facebook, as should you if you are still using that silly platform. So I immediately got a confirmation that someone was trying to log in to or change my password or something and didn't have the credentials or something like that. So just me clicking on that link provided someone else with my login credentials, but not the universal two-factor authentication. So they were unable to use the stolen credentials, but I fell for it. So I clicked on the link. It was from someone I knew, and it turned out, well, hey, you got hacked? Oh, yeah, 25 people got the same message. So some people got caught, and they would then get hacked, and then that person could send more email or private messages and so on and keep the ball rolling. So it only gets worse. So make use of those extra factors if possible. I have, over the years, received so many contacts via Twitter, LinkedIn, especially LinkedIn. Facebook, I gave up trying to deal with that. Twitter DMs, WeChat, when I used to use WhatsApp, certainly Skype. Not so much Telegram. Every once in a while, I would get a Telegram invite. I'll get added to a group of like 1 million people. Like leave group, don't even bother. So every once in a while, but I do occasionally not today, but recently, you get a text message from an unknown number, but it's a familiar, hey, are we meeting tonight? Or hey, did I see you at this? So it sounds like they know who you are. And then if I don't know you, oh well, what's your name? Then they strike up a conversation. That's the beginning of a catfishing scam. Could be a voice phishing lead-in. It could be a part of a longer scam, the pig butchering scam. So I get those all the time. LinkedIn became very popular because you would get, so what people can do is they'll copy someone's profile. So they grab their photo, they fill in some of the same details as far as professional background, maybe some job experience. And these are not really verified. So you look at something and you say, oh, that could be someone I know, right? Maybe they fill in the same school you went to or a company in common. For some reason, I was getting a lot of Asian women who worked for what's the makeup company? Starts with an S. It'll come to me. From Singapore, but working in New York, or Estee Lauder. That was they work for Estee Lauder, or what is the company? It's in malls. They do makeup and so on. Sophia, something like that. So a lot of people. Oh, okay, Asian woman from Singapore working in New York at Estee Lauder or this other place. You get an invite with some sort of a message to connect, like I'm very interested in what whatever, just some silliness. I would occasionally, if I was feeling bored, I would accept the invite and then see what they said. They're all predictably the same. So as a learning experience, it was useful. I never interacted with any of them. I was never, as far as I'm aware, taken advantage. The WeChat invites, I did receive one time that I actually engaged in a conversation just to see what was going on with this. Hey, we should talk about crypto. We should talk about the interest there. This was somebody in China, and it was, an attractive profile picture. You can see some of their other photos that they posted and so on. So you're like, oh, okay, real person, interesting. Usually dressed in some sort of business attire, so they're a professional person. I do crypto trading. This is when you couldn't do options or what is it? You couldn't do, not options. What's the futures? You couldn't do futures trading on crypto. I honestly don't know if you can now. So you could do Forex trades in Asia. So really, really pressuring me to do, like, hey, all you used to do is invest a little bit of money. So this is essentially what the pig butchering scam is. Just invest some money. So I actually got interested in how this all worked, and I used the paper trading feature of a particular Forex trading tool. So I never entered any personal information. I was able to start with like 100,000 fake dollars, did a bunch of trades, but never touched any sort of personal information to sign up for this. So that was interesting, but I do see how it can work. And pig butchering is going on right now. It's a very popular scam. Like I said, if you watch John Oliver on HBO, which I have not linked to if you want to find it, but you can read about pig butchering in general. And it's probably worth looking at just because it is a long con. So you have to be a little bit extra careful about that one, because you get lured in. You're the pig, get fattened. The pig, if I can speak, you're the pig getting fattened up, and eventually you will be taken care of in the bad way. I have received several text messages similar. So did we exchange numbers was the most recent one about 2 weeks ago. Did we exchange numbers? That's sort of funny. Like, you have my number and now I have yours, so technically yes. But no. First of all, I don't really use normal texting anymore. So if I get a text message or an unknown phone call, very rare that it's legitimate. So that's my own filtering mechanism, my best practices for me, for my communication needs. I still do have a phone number. I've had it for like 12 years, which leads to all manner of, random, you never know. You never quite know. But these, again, can lead to catfishing or other types of scams. This actually happened to me, and I almost fell for it, probably because I didn't have any money on me. It was the only reason I didn't. And then I saw it on TV. So I was driving along one time. I lived in Phoenix. And you stop at a light, blue van next to me. Guy yells out the window, "Hey, do you want some speakers? We got some speakers." Like, what? Yeah, we got some extra loudspeakers from a shipment. And we figured we'd just sell them to somebody if you want. You want to take a look, and you pull into a parking lot and you look, and they got the van, they open the door, the sliding door, you can see the speakers, and they're, oh, okay, cool. And they're like $50. Oh, wow. It's a pretty good deal. And then, as it happens when I examined the wares but didn't actually buy, but again, I probably would have, because you're like, oh, this looks good. This is appealing to your lechery. You're like, ooh, I can get a deal on this. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make sense to buy something from a car that was, next to you at a light, but it's an opportunity to get something that ooh, it's a deal. Like, hey, you want a Rolex, $50? You're like, that makes sense. Of course I want a Rolex for $50. It's probably not a real Rolex. So anytime there's a deal to be had, and so in the case where I almost fell for this, on the news, like the day or two later, hey, if you see these, and they were all driving around in blue vans or something, like Astro vans or something. They were all doing the same game, same script. So this happens in real life also. It's an appeal to your lecherous emotional response. Like I said, is, ooh, I can get something at a discount, something I shouldn't be able to get, something special that I want that. Does it make sense? No, it doesn't, but I still want it. So the extra speakers, that was the deal. But it could be anything. It could be appliances. It could be, hey, we got an extra dishwasher here. You want it for $100? Sure. Could be a car. It could be jewelry. It could be weapons. It could be anything. Anything. We've all received countless spam email messages from questionable links. With questionable links, suspicious attachments, like I said, provocative titles to the documents, urging you to click on or download or check the invoice, or you're about to be billed. I just got one of these the other day. It went all the way through the Google, Gmail, spam filtering. Very obviously bogus, but they get through. So it's not 100%. If you click on these, occasionally the spear phishing is a huge risk. There are, and this is horrible, there was recently a spate of YouTube hacks. You send, I think it was a PDF attachment with some vulnerability exploit. This happened to Linus Tech Tips, somebody editing video. So it was just one of his employees. They get a innocuous email with a PDF attachment. I think the scenario was something about an advertising agreement. Here's some ad copy. So I was like, oh, let me check the copy, see what's going on. So you open the document. the document contained and took advantage of a vulnerability exploit that would. So if you're using a web-based email client, so you're reading your Google Mail, and you're like, oh, okay, let me click on that. So the action of your browser opening this file would allow some script or some execution of something that would grab your session file, which contained your login credentials, right? You don't have to continually resupply your password. You're using YouTube. You're uploading videos. You're producing content as a content creator on the staff, on the editor, or content editors, producers. So you're already logged in. Somebody grabs your session file and can now log in as you. They don't have to supply a password. They don't have to convince you to type in anything. They have stolen the credentials that prove you are you. You've already given your password. You received a credential. It's been saved in a file. For some odd reason, those are not encrypted at rest. They should be. They should only be in memory, decrypted in memory, right? They should be encrypted on the disk. The HTTP only header is one workaround for that, for accessing cookies. But if they're able to access the session token file, suddenly, and so if you hunt down a Linus Tech Tips from the We Were Hacked, it was sometime in the last 18 months, I think. Oh, suddenly all of our content is being deleted and replaced with, questionable content. So it can happen. It can happen so fast. It's ridiculous. There are similar scenarios with on phones. If you're, like I said, if you receive a text message exploit, if you get a text message that has 25 H's in it, then it will crash and they'll have access to your passwords or whatever it is, right? Could be anything. You're starting to see now some iPhone hacks where someone watches you type in your credentials for a bank transaction, a payment of some sort. They're able to start the process of stealing your identity that way, so they can get your login credentials for Apple Pay or whatever. I don't have an iPhone, but these are very similar in that you don't expect that the credentials that you have on your computer, on your phone, are being taken in an unexpected way, not an overt way, but like secretly downloading that file or watching over your shoulder, getting a video. Somebody can just take a video of you typing your password or a PIN code or something, and then they just have to replay that video slowly, and they can watch, see what you typed in. These are common. They can be all virtual, or they can be out in the wild. I know someone personally who was taken in by a voice phishing scam. So it was, we have kidnapped a loved one. You have to send us $1,000 via MoneyGram immediately. And then you hear, help me, I've been kidnapped. So you hear a voice that could be them, maybe. You're in panic mode. You are completely emotional. No logic, no reason whatsoever. It's a panic response. You rush to the MoneyGrams, wherever, in Walgreens or Walmart or something. I need to send $1,000 to this. And MoneyGram allowed essentially anonymous recipients. So there was a class action lawsuit which paid off anyone who was scammed in something similar up until 2017. But, these are ongoing. So voice phishing is a real thing. It will only get worse with AI tools, generative AI, that will reproduce the voices of people you know. If you get a call from me, it's probably not me. It might be, but it probably isn't. But the more people do content creation, the more their voice is available for sampling and generation. So people can call in panicked voices, send me money quickly. I'm in jail. I've been arrested. I've got an emergency. I need, and it's a human reaction, very emotional. Today, as I write this, I know someone who is almost certainly, I can't verify it, and it wouldn't matter if I tried. So it's a little bit frustrating, but who's almost certainly in the midst of a pig butchering scam. So someone very appealing, physically attractive, contacts you on a social media platform, like maybe Facebook or something, like, hey, we have things in common. We have a common background. I am very far away and I cannot come and visit you in person, Maybe you can come and visit me in person. So different country. I'm a professional. I've made tons of money crypto trading, but I also do this other business. And this begins a very long con. And I don't know if it is, but it sure seems, could be. A lot of pictures, maybe even some video chatting, a lot of direct messages or private messages, back and forth, developing this relationship. Hey, why don't you try out? So if you read about what a pig butchering scam is, there will almost always be a step along the lines of, here's the platform I use. So you download this, is it Coinbase? No, well, it's Coinbase spelled with a K and a Q and a 3. Oh, okay. So now sign up, give some username, password, maybe some bank information. Now I'm going to put some money in, you put some money in, just put in a little. We'll start, watch those values going up. Those could be real values. It could be fake. It might be reflecting actual cryptocurrency trading. Could be actual trades, could be futures, could be whatever. Over time, just keep putting a little bit more, I'll put in a little bit more, you put a little bit more. If you're not putting money into a real platform, or, if you don't have control over that money, you're essentially handing over your money. And just keep the con going, just keep the friendly messaging, keep enticing, keep feeding the ego, and then it might all go away, like quickly. So this is frustrating to watch, but the ego is a tough thing to argue against. It's not reasonable, it's not rational, it's purely emotional, purely ego. This young, attractive person is feeding my ego and convincing me I'm going to be rich. She must know what she's doing. She's doing this too. So pig butchering, real thing. We'll see whatever comes of that. Have you ever scanned a QR code to pay for your parking? Maybe there's a QR-based parking meters in downtown Las Vegas. So you scan the QR code, you download an application, you can pay for your parking from your phone. Now, what doesn't happen is verification that the QR code you scanned is the legitimate QR code associated with the application. So if I was feeling brilliant, I might print up some really professional looking QR codes. I might stick them over. I don't mean just randomly stuck on there. I might actually, replace the place where, the QR is part of the placard or something. I'll just make my own. I'll completely replace the entire thing so it looks legitimate. You scan that QR code, you download an app that I wrote. I'm not going to do this. I've never done this, by the way. You download the app, you put in your credit card, you pay for your parking. If you happen to have left in time, the parking meter code enforcement people weren't out that day or something. I didn't get a ticket. It's all good. Do you actually verify in any way? Is there a way to verify? Hey, why did I get a ticket? I paid my parking. This is not I paid a bogus app. Then what? Do you tell somebody? Maybe you tell a parking code enforcement person if they happen to be around. Maybe you complain when you have to pay the parking. We're talking days, weeks, months going by. So closing that loop on a bogus QR code is very tricky. Unfortunately, most mobile devices now with a camera will allow you to tap on a link. There's really no protection. You have no idea what you're about to tap on. So that happens. And I already mentioned the Trust But Verify episode of the Cafe Genius Impresarios audio program. Episode, was it 16? Yep, episode 16. So I've linked to the Spotify for podcasters page. So there's a few different ways to listen to it. It just goes through the story of how this person tricked everyone. He used my name as part of his scam. So he was leveraging I'm friends with so-and-so. Now you and I can be friends. And I'm friends with now both of those people, Dan and this other person. Or do you know Dan? And yeah, I know them, of course. And so you build up your network. It was a long con. It probably went from about February to May. So it wasn't very long, but it was more than a day. And like I said, eventually this person, when he ran away from Vegas, he went to California, and I think it was almost exactly 1 year later. So after he got caught or kind of found out here, hightailed it out of town, 1 year later, catfished a minor young woman, took advantage. I think he was doing 30 years now. So these can escalate. Catfishing can turn very, very bad. And there's more. We don't have enough time until the sun burns out to tell all of the stories. So it's something to be aware of, something to know, something to be familiar with, but you cannot possibly know every variation, so you have to pay attention. Most of these take advantage of social engineering. So if you think with your heart, with your ego, with your panic response, that's what they're appealing to. So even if it's, hey, can you help me out? If you've ever watched Hackers, or you'll see, especially on TV dramas, crime procedurals, somebody will call up, hey, can you read me the number on the modem? Can you read the number on the file? Can you do me a solid? Can you do me a favor? That's an appeal to our tendency to want to be helpful. So these are emotional responses. They're not reasonable. They're not logical. And again, you can read about some horror stories of someone handing over an email password because someone had the criminal had a convincing story, an email, or more likely a phone call. Can you just help me out? And that can be the beginning of the end. These are not unlike negotiation tools, like I said. So if you read that book, or if you are familiar at all with negotiation in general, when you appeal to emotion, when you make someone feel as though saying no or not, like they're missing out, like you're gonna like, I want the thing, I want the good deal, I'm worried about my loved ones, so they turn all of your emotions against you. So if you're negotiating for a deal on a car, that's one thing. If you're trying to sell someone a car, that's the other side of that. If you're trying to get a hostage release, that's obviously much more serious. If you're trying to convince someone to get in your car, that's even more serious. So if you are not allowed to really think, or if you are prevented from accessing your logical, rational, pondering mind, if they keep you on the defensive, come on, do me a favor. If you're not allowed to logic your way through the scenario, you can be taken advantage of, and that may cost you or someone else. All of these and more will only get worse as AI tools are turned against you with more convincing and longer running discussions and chats, more correct use of words. A lot of spam, pretty easy to spot, even if it gets through the Google filters or whatever your spam filtering scheme is. Usually the language is very weird, the uncanny valley in written form. You're like, it looks like it was written by somebody who doesn't know what they're talking about. Or there'll be some random words thrown in. So as generative artificial intelligence tools become better and better, you may get a very convincing voice phishing phone call. You may get a really convincing email. You may have personal details, references to friends, relatives. How was your trip? Do I know you? Yeah, we met at that one time. You were, quickly checks your Instagram posts, when you were in Rome that one time. Oh, okay. Yeah, I just sent you a LinkedIn invite. I went to school in Singapore. I work for Estee Lauder. Okay. Seems legit. It matches. Okay. So the more specific the conversations can become, it may be a convincing voice. It may be an ongoing, realistic private messaging chat. It might even be a video call at some point. You may be getting realistic photographs and videos. You may have an online FaceTime or other video chat. Eventually the AI tools, I hate to be a harbinger of doom, but these are tools in their toolbox. You have to have tools in yours to defend yourself. So speaking of that, the ability to negotiate, by the way, these are skills that you can use when you are interacting with someone you feel might be trying to take advantage of you. So you have to play your role in this dialogue back and forth. So speaking of the defensive tools, everything begins with you and how you assign trust, how you assess risk. What do you do with an incoming message that you are unfamiliar with the sender? Recently, think it was a Nextdoor post. Somebody said, hey, I got this email about my student loans and the government Student Loan Reduction Act, or whatever it's called. And the Nextdoor comment threads are never valuable. You know what you should do? Carry a gun. So I occasionally will do this. I said, well, here's a checklist from the government agency that's running this program, and they have a whole page on fraud. Step 1, did it come from an email address that ends in .gov? You have to be careful with those because the use of alternate character sets means people could send you mail that visually looks like it's from a .gov email address, which is why I think people should be using encrypted emails, whether it's PGP, whether it's S-MIME. I happen to work at Netscape on the S-MIME tools and the Communicator mail and news client, so I have some familiarity with this. I'm a strong proponent of using these tools because they can help you verify that the sender, if they've chosen to sign their email, is who they say it is. Your email tools should be more helpful than they are. Even if they're super helpful, they should be more helpful. So you should always be absolutely sure who is sending you a message. You should also be absolutely sure that they intended to send you that message. So the way that you assign trust to each individual message must be specific on top of the general trust. You know, if my mom sent me an email, but I didn't know she had a .ru. You know, I'm making fun of Russia, but I didn't know they had a .Romania. Whatever these places are. Like, oh, why am I getting email that says it's from my mom, but it's from another country? Did my mom mean to send me this picture of Zendaya? Whatever, right? So the emotional response is like, oh, it's from my mom. And let me click on the thing she sent me. The logical response should be, that email address doesn't look like the one that I am familiar with. So there are tools in place to help with this. Do people use them? Not enough. If more artificial intelligence tools, more generative tools are used to create realistic, convincing messages, it could be a phone call, it could be a video conversation, it could be a still image, it could be plain old email or private messages, direct messages, chat. All of these are only going to become more and more convincing. So you must be more and more careful about how you assign trust and assess risk of each and every one. End-to-end encryption is catching on. I know WhatsApp has deployed it. I know Telegram, Matrix, Signal. I think Facebook Messenger now supports it in some way. So if you can rely on a known, so part of the process of an end-to-end encrypted message, you are supposed to be able to verify the other end. So if you use Telegram, for example, they have the little emoji style icons that you can confirm with the person. If you do it correctly, you should use an alternate communication channel. You can say, are you seeing a piece of cake and a trumpet and a 100 underscore 100? Like, yes, those are the images I'm seeing. So you're verifying that the person that you're communicating with is the person that you just spoke with on the phone. Of course, that will start to become more risky with AI, voice generation, and so on. But ideally, in a perfect world, you should be verifying who you think you are communicating with so that you can decide whether you trust the communication. Is the channel secure? Is the person on the other end who they say they are? Is it who I think they are? Has that changed? So as you can, we're already getting into the territory where like, this seems like too much trouble. It is until, man, I wish I would have verified. You should sign and encrypt your emails, except for the few cases where you shouldn't. Sign and encrypt messages that you know what their contents are. There are crafted messages that could leak some information, so you have to be careful about that. But for the most part, if you can sign your emails for the sake of the person receiving it, encrypt the emails for end-to-end secure communications, the message is secure. Seems like overkill, but again, only until it isn't. Use the tools. So it could be public key cryptography, the PGP for email, Maybe someday there will be blockchain-based identity credentials. I know some places are doing that now. Use your generative AI tools. Wait, what am I suggesting here? You should know how these things work. You should use generative AI tools to generate emails to send to somebody, generate a voice that sounds like you. 11 Labs is a good one, I think. There are several. Eventually create an image of yourself, a little fake profile picture, maybe make some video, see if you can do some real-time chatting. Become familiar with how good the tools are so that you will have some sense of when they are being used against you. You don't have to be a programmer, you don't have to be a machine learning expert, but you should know. If you've ever seen, was it Heartbreak Ridge with a long pause, Clint Eastwood, thank you. Gunny. Clint Eastwood is the Gunny drill sergeant. Yeah, it's Marine, so I don't know if they call him a drill sergeant, but Gunny, whatever his name is, he shoots at his platoon, is it? With an AK-47, and he says, the AK-47 makes a distinct sound when fired at you. Learn to recognize it, something to that effect. So you should learn how these tools can be used against you, even if you don't use them day to day, even if you are not a scammer and trying to scam your friends, family, and colleagues. You should at least understand how they work, be somewhat familiar. You should understand what the uncanny valley is. That's when you think like, hey, there's 6 fingers. That doesn't look right. Or their face doesn't move in the right way. You should take advantage of all of your biological evolution, which is there to make sure that you survive, to keep the species going. Try to become familiar with how these tools work. So yeah, use the tools. And, you should become familiar with how end-to-end encryption works anyway. You should know, what does the blockchain really do for me? Should I store my credentials on there? So you should become familiar. It's almost like driving a car. Remember back in the day, you may not. Remember back in the day when there would be a car with a standard transmission, driving stick, as they would say? Standard transmission used to mean you had to know how to work a clutch and how to shift and how to downshift and how to get out of first or get into first. You had to know, even if you purchased an automatic vehicle or if you rented a vehicle that was an automatic transmission, I don't want to be bothered with stick. But the rationale was always, what if it's an emergency? You should know how to drive stick. Myself, I learned how to drive stick when I was 10. When I sold the last car I owned several years ago, standard transmission, driving stick. If you know how to drive stick, you will always know how to drive an automatic transmission, not always the other way around. Become familiar with the tools, even if you're not going to use them. At least know how they work in case of emergency. So those are a couple things. How about some more gaps and more tools? Our adversaries, move very fast. The wisdom of crowds would go a long way to knowing about new tactics, novel strategies, and the latest weapons that are being used against you. So how do you do that? Well, email spam filters today rely heavily on a combination of factors, from server authentication and sender verification. So those are the DKIM, what is it? Domain key. I can't remember what the IM is. DKIM, SPF, Sender Policy Framework. So you have which servers are allowed to send email. You have encryption or signing keys to sign messages that they really are from a server that's authorized. So these tools are used in conjunction with pattern matching on message content to tell if it's just random words or a meaningful message. You can compare senders and bulk sending rates. You can do, if you're a service like Google and you're managing email for 86% of the world, then you can start doing things like, how come very similar messages are being sent to 1 million people? And then you can see, 1 million people mark that as spam. That's a signal. So if there are more ways of measuring individual responses, then voice phishing attacks could be, hey, this scheme, I've kidnapped someone, send me some MoneyGram. There could be a little angel on your shoulder that says, psst, that's a scam. 25 people are going through this right now with you. That's a practicality of implementation problem, but the fact is, these tools, these methods, these strategies that scammers follow are not like unique to you. There's usually a pattern, a template, a script. They're making use of a infrastructure that's being developed. In the case of pig butchering, it's not like everybody's going to create their own crypto exchange. So there's probably a network of people. Maybe it's a what do you call it? A boiler room. You got a bunch of people at computers sending selfies, doing FaceTime. We all use the CryptoKitties, crypto exchange, whatever. So the ability to use the wisdom of crowds exists if we could apply it to these sorts of things. Message volumes can be measured, trends in templates and patterns. These will be a little bit more difficult with artificial intelligence, generative AI, to craft messages individually for you, but the strategies will be similar. They're making an appeal through social engineering to your emotional responses. So we should be using the same tools that they're using, but as defensive measures, not offensive, which is what they're doing. For example, I mentioned the QR thing. If you hold your camera up to a QR code and you're using your mobile device, an Android or an iPhone, you will almost certainly, in the field of view for the camera app on either of those phones, see a floating box once the image processing recognizes a QR code. Oh, that's a QR code. Here's the URL. Tap on it. You are almost certainly going to be opening your web browser and loading that URL. Very convenient, very dangerous. You could be loading that fake URL I described. Oh, let me download the parking app. Oh, it's the app. It's called the parking app, spelled with a silent L. Why is there an L in there? Parking app. Okay, sure. Let me put my credit card information in, pay for my parking spot, and go sit at the coffee shop or whatever. If there were any sort of verification, the moment that the fake QR code becomes apparent, it should become apparent to everyone. Let me tap this link. Oh, it's a bogus link. Oh, I'm glad I had this protection mechanism available to me. How do we implement that? There's a couple of ways. Obviously, Android and iPhone should play a role, so Google and Apple. Anyone who's giving you a product that allows you to shoot yourself in the foot should at least provide you with some bulletproof shoes. So you should be able to sandbox that URL. The URL should open in such a way as you can preview it before it has access to things like 0-day exploits and things. Do I want to download? Is this a valid application? Let me see if other people, 100% of the people who have been presented with this preview point out that it's a fraud, that's fake, that it's criminal. So some sort of filtering, you could probably do something like, a QR code, let me pass that through something just like the spam filtering that Google does, right? Oh, this URL is not a good one. Sure, it's a minor, you could say it's a little bit invasive, but the value proposition seems pretty clear if their alternative is to simply unleash completely unfiltered, unfettered URL access to who knows what you're going to be installing. Hey, it's a web app. You don't even have to download anything. Just type in your credit card information. You may not even need to install something. It takes you to a website. It's got a valid SSL or TLS certificate. It looks legit. The domain is spelled, it does say LasVegasParking.com. The thing you don't recognize it's a Unicode domain name. The A is a different A. So it looks legitimate to the casual user, but it's absolutely not legitimate. So there are ways to check these things. We should be making use of them. We should be able to neutralize these threats. We have the technology you're carrying around in your pocket. Right now it's a loaded gun and you're wearing flip-flops. So that's just some ideas. Basically, spam filtering is the kind of the beginning of some ideas. Crowd sourcing, the wisdom of crowds, being able to identify. You should be able to say in a moment, is this phone call legitimate? Is there really, and there's a component of this that will have to be personal. What's his name? Andrew Bustamante, I think it is, a retired CIA agent, does a podcast, 2-Bit Spies, I think it is. Regular Spies, something. He and his wife are former CIA. They have a podcast. He goes into great detail about how Their entire family uses code words. If someone ever goes to pick up the kids at school, they must have the proper challenge response code, or the kids know this is not happening. Go contact a trusted adult. So there's a risk assessment process that's ingrained in the children already. They're very careful about trust, somebody knocking at the door, et cetera, et cetera. So having that system in place, trusting a small circle of people, relying on the wisdom of crowds. If somebody says, hey, I kidnapped your loved one, there should be a way that you can say, give me the code word. It sounds ridiculous. It sounds comical. It sounds like the stuff of a situation comedy. But in real life, the scenario I gave earlier, had there been a code word and now there is a code word, it would have been a simple matter of, and it doesn't have to be give me the code word. In this case, it could be, how's your pet doing that you don't have? You mentioned the name. It's almost like the pizza. You order a pizza, that I'm not even going to go into detail with that, but 911 dispatchers know if you're ordering a pizza and you've called 911, they're sending a pizza delivery person with red and blue lights, and they're going to be there immediately. So these practices exist. There's something similar for if you happen to be at a bar and you are in trouble, then there's a particular drink you order, and sometimes it's written in one of the restrooms. So there are ways to be subtle, but these are ways that you can help each other, right? So the wisdom of crowds. The pig butchering scenario, really someone should say, wait, you're giving this person you don't even know all your money? Yeah, but I'm going to get a ton of... Have you seen Last Week Tonight on HBO? Watch this video and see if any of it sounds familiar. Wow, 100% of that sounds familiar. In fact, that picture... So the wisdom of crowds should not be undersold. The For You page on TikTok is certainly figured out what you like to watch. People are in panic mode at the thought of losing it. So we have all this technology aimed at monetizing your attention span. We could be feeding you the current information on risks that might affect you. Fit in there somewhere like, hey, by the way, here's the latest scam. Hey, by the way, make sure you update your encryption keys and your signing keys on your email client. Don't forget, here's how this works. Don't forget to verify who you're talking to. These could all be kind of sprinkled in, and they would be sometimes life-saving. They would certainly be money-saving. They would be face-saving. Nobody wants to be taken advantage of. I'm going to end this episode very soon. It's a note on violent crimes. So what we've talked about today is mostly digital crimes, catfishing, especially in the case of dating apps, or anytime you are going to meet up in person, those can turn very dangerous very quickly. That's not necessarily what today's episode is about, but it is something to be aware of. The code word notion I mentioned earlier, absolutely essential that young people are completely and totally informed about catfishing, about there's a version of, it's called digital kidnapping. It's where people steal images. They have you send compromising photos or private personal information in a chat. They've convinced you to just send me a selfie with your exposing something. And suddenly now they have this something to hold over you to get you to do, well, if you don't come over, I'm going to, these things can turn very bad very fast. It's part of the trust and risk assessment mindset that should be part of all of your digital communications. It should be ingrained in you to proactively avoid falling for, being taken advantage of by scam, shams, and flim-flams. It's a fun title to say, even with my voice failing as it is about to, but it is very serious. When you are already at risk, sending an email or participating in a video FaceTime chat, if that turns into a physical meetup in the real world, if it turns into someone coming over your house or you going to their house, getting in a car, visiting a unknown location, things can turn very bad very quickly. Kidnapping and other assault and battery crimes, and I mentioned Russell Wayne Deviney earlier, that turned very bad. Catfishing, he convinced, you can, if you search for Russell Wayne Deviney, and you can can hear the audio program that I produced several weeks, probably a year ago now. You can hear the story. Essentially, he convinced this person that he was 18. I think she was 14. Convinced her to meet up with him somewhere. I believe when she got into his vehicle, obviously she figured out that he was not the age he represented when they were communicating. And there was kidnapping and violence that followed. And he's doing hard time now. So trust but verify. Know who you're talking to. Know that once you enter the physical world, once you enter a conversation that was unconfirmed, unverified, when trust has been assigned inappropriately, it can become very bad very quickly. All of our digital tools should be aimed at combating that. Vegas in particular, human trafficking is a known problem. Any form of kidnapping, anything as simple as it's almost a trope now. The white van. Hey, I have some candy. You want to ride? The code word scenario, that becomes very real very quickly. These are real world examples of click on this link. If you start early and you start at the closest, the thing in your pocket, the email messages, the direct messages, the private messages, the text messages, if there's a trust metric in place, if there's an understanding of risk assessment, if you understand when your emotions are being toyed with as part of a social engineering ploy to con you out of your money, your privacy, your safety, those can be extended out to real world interactions, real world scenarios that are risky. Know when to get help, know when to avoid, escape, evade. Digital form is one strategy. There are several. Install defensive reflexes at an early age as possible. Instill. Reading my notes. Instill defensive reflexes. So like I said, if you can, at a very young age, make sure that always know who you're talking to, always know what they are trying to accomplish by talking to you. You are not in a safe place if you are speaking to an adult. It's that lechery, even at a young age. Ooh, I'm doing something I shouldn't be able to do. I'm doing something I'm not going to even talk to my parents. I'm an adult. I feel like I'm an adult. These are the behaviors, whether it's clicking on a link, getting into a car, nothing good can come of it. So code words, avoiding strangers, all these tropes, skipping offers of free candy, other emotional appeals. Nothing is worth getting caught in a scam that leads to physical violence or worse. It can all begin with a friend request. It can end very badly. Keep an eye out for others. Not everyone is on top of things like you are. Now that you've listened to all this, I am no expert, but I have worked in cybersecurity. I've worked with encrypted emails, with trust, system trust, with trust boundaries and so on. So, and again, all those examples I read earlier from my notes to you were all real. They all really happened. I've managed to avoid myself getting taken advantage of. I want to say that there have been occasions where I've clicked on things and I'm thinking, I should not have clicked on that. And it has not gone badly. I think if I was using a Windows machine or any platform that had a 0-day exploit, I probably would have been in trouble. So I will count myself lucky. These are always learning experiences. Anytime you do something that you feel like, ooh, I should not have done that, make note, learn from it. So as you ponder these things, as you consider how you assign trust, how you assess risk, how you consider emotional appeals, how you become familiar with the tools that are being used against you, how you can recognize them. If you can prevent someone else from losing their passwords, their money, or their life, you should do it. And that is where I will end today's episode. My voice has already left the building, but I think this is an important thing. The pig butchering scam that I believe is occurring right now is very unfortunate. It's very frustrating because the person will not believe. This is an ego that is stronger than rational appeal. So it's very frustrating. Not much you can do with adults. So hope for the best. But had it been earlier, had I known about this from the first Facebook or whatever friend request, I may have said, "Hey, before you hit accept, let me show you this video. Let me show you this article." And you can start with the Wikipedia page on pig butchering, or any of these, but you can always read various states, Department of Justice, the FCC, the FBI. Some of these are occurring across state lines or internationally. So international police, certainly the FBI can become involved. These are real things to be concerned about. They're real things to keep an eye on. They're real things to be completely and totally vigilant about all the time. Don't click that link. Unless it is that's in bad taste to switch gears like this, but I'm going to wrap up the show, so I will switch to shameless self-promotion mode. buymeacoffee.com/DanHugo. Keep up to date with my various projects. You do not have to buy me a coffee. You do not have to spend any money, put any personal information in anywhere. You don't have to log in. You don't have to do anything. You can just see a list of links, the 4 audio programs I produce each week, some GitHub repositories for some things I'm working on, a list of my favorite coffee beans. If you want to, I'll leave it there. There are ways you can support the show financially or support my coffee habit, but you are under no obligation to do that. What I do want you to do, though, is to be careful. Be careful out there. Try to help others. And don't get caught. Definitely don't get caught again. Thank you for listening.